Welcome back to another episode of the Fit and Unfiltered podcast. I am your host, Nick, and I could not let this summer season pass, ladies, without acknowledging the women that are going through the school holidays right now. Myself included, I am also in this window, who you're going through perimenopause, you're starting to experience hormonal shifts. It's feeling a little bit more of a struggle than it ever has before. And we're questioning ourselves. We're not ready to acknowledge that our hormones are changing. We're not ready to acknowledge that maybe we can't keep up with the same pace that we did previously. We question ourselves. We question our ability to be able to do it all. And what happens in that equation is we rule out any capacity to focus on our own goals, our nutrition, our training, taking care of ourselves. Why bother? Why bother? Because it doesn't seem to be paying off. So I'm going to come back to it in September. Well, ladies, we are not going to let this summer season pass without acknowledging it does feel different. And you know what, even if you're listening to this and you're thinking, no, I'm turning this off, I'm not perimenopausal, that's not me yet. Well, I see the statistics of our listeners. And so if you're anywhere in that like mid to late 30s, 40s and beyond bracket, you will be experiencing on some level hormones changing. But ladies who we are in our 40s, I'm now 43, it's a real thing. And I think one of the things that I've learned to take on board for myself is how to adapt. I don't do things the way that I used to. I don't even do things the way I used to do 18 months ago. And so let's get into it. Let's talk about how you can adapt rather than just pushing through and hoping for the best. Welcome back to another episode of the Fit and Unfiltered podcast. Did I say that? Have I said that twice? Is this my perimenopausal brain? I'm going to keep that in. We don't edit anything out anyway. But here we are. I can't even remember if I've already said this. I'll touch on the unfiltered, ladies, and it's in complete correlation with today's episode. So if you follow along on social media, which if you do, you may notice that we have launched a page specifically for the Fit and Unfiltered podcast. We're going to be putting clips, segments, little different bits of information, things that I reference on the podcast. I'll be putting more detailed information on the Instagram page. So come over and follow us. It is at the Fit and Unfiltered. And if you do share the podcast, please be sure to tag us in. I always appreciate, I cannot say it enough, like the goal, of course, is to grow the podcast and to reach more women. And I cannot express every time you like, subscribe, share, save, leave a comment, it makes a difference, and it really genuinely means the world. Subscribe on YouTube, that is. If you're watching on YouTube today, ladies, I've got a bit of a funny eye situation because I am also in the throes, obviously, of the realness of like this morning we were at the swimming baths and this afternoon I've allocated time to work. And we got kicked out the pool because the chlorine was too high. After being in there for 45 minutes and me wondering why the hell my eyes were red raw, like I couldn't physically see at times. I was like, kids, I'm going to have to stop going under because I can't, you know when you come out from under the water and you're like, I can't see. And then the guy come over and he was like, we need everybody out the pool. Sorry, we've just done a water check and the chlorine's too high, so we need to make sure it's safe and everything else. And I was like, is that why I can't see? Anyway, here we are a couple of hours later, and the bloodshot eye, which was almost closed over, is just about reopening. And I'm like, this is the allocated time to record today's podcast, so it's happening by hook or by crook. And I've also absolutely committed to showing up on camera and making sure that we get an episode out on YouTube every week, because this is another platform where I would love to see some growth. So that's that one out the way. And if you are watching on YouTube and you're not yet subscribed to the channel, please do, because it really helps us grow, and it also means that you don't miss out on any of the little shorts or extra episodes or weekly episodes that we're going to be bringing to you. Okay, back to the unfiltered. So last week I'd mentioned on social media that Mother Nature was due. I'd got into the gym. I'd sort of like lost track of my cycle a little bit, because we'd been away on holiday. And I knew it was kind of brewing anyway. I just felt shattered. Get into the gym, thought I'm going to have a little look on my flow track, and it must be around this time. And it was like, yeah, today. You're due on today, basically, or any time around the next sort of like couple of days. following that, I kind of went MIA on social media for 48 hours, which is something that you will notice that I might do, because I'm going to talk about that, protecting our energy and understanding where we need to pull back, especially women in our 40s. Like, we don't have the bandwidth that we had before. So I sort of went MIA and then got that out of the way. Protecting my energy it's so critically important now for me to be able to get through menstrual cycle and not feel too burnt out, feel too overstretched. Don't forget, menstrual cycle, ladies, is, for a lot of women, it's the biggest rebound of the month, because it's the one time of the month that you cannot control your cravings. Your sleep is up the wall, you're feeling more anxious, you don't have the energy to work out, you don't recover the way that you were before. And so it's a little bit all over, and it's like this massive rebound every month. And it can feel really frustrating, especially if you've been on course for your goals, you've been doing really well, you've been doing all of the things. It's starting to feel so much easier, and then bang, menstrual cycle hits and you haven't adapted what you've been doing for the last however many years. We're just struggling through. We're hoping that the chocolate's not going to add up and that the sleepless nights are not going to make any difference. And before you know it, we've gained. And, whether that's, again, on the scales, I say that because I know for a lot of my clients that is an absolute mental battle. But one of the things that I have been doing is just managing my energy a lot better, so that I have got more awareness around cravings and winding down before sleep, and just energy to be able to show up in real life, which is what I always talk about, for the things that matters, which during the summer holidays, it is having the energy to still be able to keep up with your kids and keep up with their schedules and juggle the late nights and then the early mornings and everything else that we've got going on. So I recorded something actually for social media earlier in the week, and I didn't post it, and I thought I'm going to speak about this on the podcast. And it's one of the symptoms that I've been experiencing, which is out the other side of cycle. I'd gone out for a walk actually, and I'd recorded it on my walk, and for whatever reason I didn't post it. But I'd gone out for a walk because I knew I needed it, not because I particularly wanted to, but I knew I needed it. One of the symptoms that I'm experiencing is post cycle, my mood still feels a little bit low. You know the way just during that window of menstrual cycle, you can't put your finger on it. You're not negative. You just feel a little bit more fragile, like we're just a bit low. We could cry at the drop of a hat, and you can't quite put your finger on what it is. It's so hard to explain. I try to explain this to my husband, and of course he doesn't get it, but we just feel a bit low. And then cycle is over, and it's like a black cloud has been lifted. We are just back in business. It's like a wave, isn't it? Like you feel that coming out the other side. That's sort of like being dragging a little bit for me. I used to just get that like hit 2-3 days after cycle had begun. That was it. I was out the other side. Mood was back, firing off all cylinders. The last 18 months, but no 2 months are the same. So some months hit different than others. It drags its heels a little bit, that mood elevating. And it's estrogen. Estrogen just doesn't peak back up for me. And you might also be experiencing this the way it did before. So it's a very real thing. Not only does our estrogen decline during perimenopause, but it fluctuates. So, and this is the part that we've got to acknowledge, is that we're up, down, we're here, there, everywhere, not just around those couple of days of the month, which is what we were always used to. We were always used to those couple of days of the month. And so I'd gone out for a walk because the mood was still a little bit low. And I thought, I know what is going to be the cure for this. And it's not really what I want to do. I wanted to just get on the couch, if I'm completely honest, and just watch something junk and chill. And I actually just went out for a walk because I know instantly that is going to be the mood boost. But what I also see, especially with women that I'm working with, or even just friends and women that I chat with, is that low mood often can spiral. And it leads us into this downwards rabbit hole of overthinking and then negative self-talk and then worrying about things that have happened, things that might happen, our lack of control, the fact that our results seem to be getting away from us every time we feel like we're in the driver's seat. And what do we do in that instance? What is our instant form of like self-soothing? For a lot of women, it's food. It's food, it's chocolate, it's whatever your food indulgence is, or it's a glass of wine. And so this is where the rebound cycle is really hard to escape, because when this hormone estrogen, which in our 40s, ladies, whether we acknowledge it or not, it is starting to fluctuate, obviously more dramatically. It's person dependent, and in my case, I know no 2 months are the same. Some months seem to breeze through it, and I'll talk you through kind of some of the things that I do that I know have worked for me, but it's very much about adapting. But I also think just acknowledging that hormonally things are changing. And it's not because, like, okay, summer holidays, for example, it's not because all of a sudden the kids have decided to get an attitude, or they've decided to become more hard work, or our husbands decided to become more hard work, or any of those things. It's us, it's our hormones are changing. And as women, I think we're so equipped, aren't we, in our minds, like, no matter what, we're okay, we're going to plow through, we're going to get out the other side, we'll be fine. Like, the thought of giving ourselves a little bit of slack, giving ourselves some grace, and adapting and saying, do you know what, I am going to have to switch notifications off for 48 hours, or I'm going to have to keep out of the staff room today because I actually just can't be amongst gossip and negative self-talk because my energy is thin right now. Or maybe I do need to get my hubby on board to help me out with some of the chores that are normally just left to me, but actually I feel as though I'm just wearing a little bit thin at this moment in time. We don't really consider any of that. And so on today's episode, I am asking you to start considering not that instant, how can I self-soothe? Okay, I'm just going to alleviate the stress by eating the chocolate, drinking the wine, whatever the default is. But actually, first and foremost, just acknowledge, like, things are feeling a little different. That's not a failure on your part, ladies. It is not, I am not enough, I am failing, my body's failing me, I am unable to shift the weight, I'm unable to have the energy to go to the gym. Why on earth am I not able to give the kids energy at 6 p.m? Why do I feel like I need to have a nap? Like, whatever it is that you might be experiencing, and not all at once. And as I said, not even every single month, but invariably, just acknowledging that, okay, I'm actually experiencing some shifts here. It's a real funny one, but we've got to be our own best friend. And I know from my work as a coach, a lot of women really struggle with this, really struggle with having your own back, really struggle with being your own biggest cheerleader and your own biggest supporter. And so I want to acknowledge that it is very real, and give a little bit of insight as to what's going on hormonally. So we know what's going on with estrogen. It's fluctuating, it's here, there and everywhere. And across the board, it's declining. But progesterone, which is our other hormone, which, think of that as sort of like the calming hormone. It helps us with clear mind and just this ability to, it's like a buffer between stress and anxiety. This also starts to fluctuate, gets very erratic. And so we start to feel stress, anxiety. You'll know this if you've experienced, you know that when you lose your temper, and I've spoke to a lot of women and I've definitely experienced this, you lose your temper and instantly after you've done it, you feel awful. Like, you wish you hadn't done that, you wish you hadn't spoken in that way to the kids, or snapped at your husband, or even just had road rage, or whatever it might be. And it feels like that's not me. It's such a weird feeling, isn't it? Because it's almost like, it's like something's taken over, and it's the buffer. We don't have this abundance of progesterone the way that we had before. And so that buffer between situation and the stress response or feeling anxious, like, we just don't have that buffer now at all times during the month. And so we are a little bit more susceptible. We know what that means when we feel more stressed, when we feel more anxious. Again, think of your typical default when you are in those scenarios, because for a lot of women, the first thing you'll do is talk yourself out of taking care of yourself. You'll talk yourself out of your workout. You'll talk yourself out of the healthy meal. You'll talk yourself out of the alcohol-free weekend, because guess what? It's been a stressful week. It's been a stressful day. And I made all of those intentions when I wasn't stressed, but now I'm stressed. So now I'm just going to go back to my default mode. And I think part of what we do inside of Thriving Women, and part of what I'll always speak about on the podcast, is the importance of systems and having a plan and having some sort of default, either non-negotiables or routine that you sort of like gear around, because it just, for me, and definitely for the women that I coach, it helps to keep you on course regardless of stress or these feelings of anxiety or the irritability. Like, we've got this expectancy of, we're getting out and we're doing our steps. We know what days we're working out. We know what our meals are going to look like. We have boundaries around foods that we maybe don't eat. I kind of have this mentality, and I go through this with my kids actually. I may have mentioned this on the podcast, but we have the foods that we can eat all of the time. We have the foods that we eat sometimes, and then we have the foods that we eat hardly never. So, examples off the top of my head, obviously foods that we eat all of the time, insert an abundance of amazing healthy whole foods, whether it's the fruit, the veggies, the lean protein, the fish, the good stuff. Okay, and then we've got the foods that we eat sometimes. So maybe that might be the lolly ice, or for us mums, it might be the lolly ice or the packet of crisps or the chocolate bar. Sometimes we're going to have those foods. And then the very rarely, well, in my case, it would be the McDonald's or the ultra processed food. We're hardly ever eating that. Sometimes foods is like some of the snacky, it's still ultra processed, but it's, I suppose, of lesser impact. It's not an entire meal, it's a snack. And so even just having that idea of, okay, these are the foods that we hardly ever eat, they're not even in the conversation, and having a plan and having a system built around, these are the foods that we eat all of the time. When you are stressed, when you're feeling anxious, when you're feeling a certain kind of way, it removes the decision of what next. The decision is already mapped out, and you've got the flexibility inside of this. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm sort of like using my hands to group together these three categories. You've got the flexibility inside of this first category of foods that we eat all of the time. But the flexibility has still got boundaries, if that makes sense. These two hormones together, the estrogen, the progesterone, makes it a lot harder for us than what it was before. And so I think acknowledging this, ladies, especially during the summer holidays, is so important for us to do, because particularly with our ability to just quickly check on social media, because again, the dopamine hit that we get from social media sometimes can create this loop whereby we feel stressed, we self-soothe using socials. Socials might then stress us out because it either triggers more cortisol, or we see something that makes us feel less than, or it has us questioning ourselves, or it has us completely changing direction, or it might anger us or make us feel emotional, whatever it is. Then our next port of call action is, again, insert self-sabotaging habits. And it can be the smallest thing, but everything creates momentum, everything compounds. So the small little things that you are doing in your favour, the non-negotiables, they are going to compound. They will eventually compound in your favour. And you will be a reflection of these great little mini habits and great little mini decisions that you are making. It's the complete vice versa. If all of these micro decisions, eat the chocolate bar, miss the workout, don't get the steps, scroll too late at night, entertain negative self-talk, whatever it is, will also start to compound. And so we've got to think about, okay, in this moment, whether it's menstrual cycle, whether it's getting out the other side, which for me, I think because there's a level of expectancy, isn't there? Like when you're in it, when you're on cycle, you know what to expect. Like, I'm probably going to feel this, this and this. I'm going to be bloated. I'm going to da-da-da-da. Okay. When you get out the other side, to then still feel off is really unnerving. Like at first, I've got to admit, I struggled a little bit because I'm so used to being quite mentally sharp and on it and able to do all of the things and able to recover from my workouts, and energy used to like just kick back in, and it was just lagging, as I've said. And I've really adapted mostly my mental bandwidth, I've got to say. Like once that is spent, everything else feels so much harder. Obviously, you ladies listen know that I already have the systems and the routines in place when it comes to nutrition, and like even some of what I put on socials last week when I was coming out of the gym was like, haven't done much. I've literally just got up, got in, I've done 4 exercises and I've done some steps, because again, for me, and what I'll absolutely advocate on here, is it's about showing up. It's about showing up more than it's about the intensity and the importance of every workout looking perfect. And so here's what I want to get to. Here's what I am alluding to on this week's episode is, ladies, if you are feeling this way, if you're perimenopausal, if you are just hormonal on any level, like even if you are not perimenopausal, but once a month you experience really intense, really tough menstrual cycle, I want to give yourself a little bit of permission to first of all be flexible around those days and allow yourself to adapt. Because one thing that we cannot do is we cannot try harder, we cannot push harder, we cannot keep on the same trajectory at the same momentum that we were before and expect the same outcome. And it's frustrating so many women, and there are more and more women feeling at your wit's end when it comes to managing your body goals, managing your nutrition, being able to keep your stress levels down, managing the negative self-talk. Like, I speak to a lot of women who really struggle with negative self-talk. And I will say on here, and you always hear me talk about this, I've actually got a talk coming up in September. I'll give you more details on it, another episode. And I thought it'd be really interesting to talk on how we say that mindset is behind everything and it is 99% of the driver. And if you haven't got the right mindset, then you can't do all of the things. And whilst that is true, that is absolutely true, it's so intangible that a lot of the time we just can't grasp. We can't grasp, how do I get the mindset? What do I have to do? And so in this talk, it's going to be a live talk. It's going to be an event in Liverpool. So I'll give you all of the details on a separate episode. But I think it's really important to give some actual strategy, some real tools behind, before the mindset kicks in, before it appears. What do we do? What can I actually get stuck into and get a handle on, alongside doing the mindset work? Because knowing that the mindset is a big part of it is great. But if you really struggle with negative self-talk, if you really struggle with intense bouts of stress or anxiety, and I say this because, again, I have a lot of clients who, it's monthly, it's absolutely linked to cycle. So one of the things that we will do inside of Thriving Women is we will adapt around menstrual cycle. One of the questions I ask all of my one-to-one clients, where are you in your cycle? And the longer that I work with you, the more that we'll start to see patterns. So we'll know for you if week 3 is your strongest month. We will know around cycle if we need to taper things off or lower the intensity or allow for more calories or whatever it might be. And it's important. We've got to acknowledge it, because otherwise, what's the alternative? Is to stay in this hamster wheel of 2-3 weeks of the month you feel like you're flying, and then there's an entire week where you just feel like you've hit a brick wall. And for that whole week, food is off, training's off, and mindset is up the wall. And then we kind of get ourselves back in the mix, but then we drop off again. Like, we need to break that cycle, ladies, but it starts with awareness. It starts with giving ourselves permission to adapt. We're not going to lower the bar. This is not about lower your standards, lower the bar, and expect less of yourself. That is not it. It's be willing to shift what a typical week looks like. Be willing to adapt. Be willing to take care of yourself a little differently. And when I talk about lowering expectations, that's not it. But I suppose adjusting expectations accordingly is so important. It's so important because we can't expect to perform the way that we did 10 years ago if we haven't adapted how we're going to get there. You can absolutely still expect to feel fantastic, to have good energy, to have great positive self-talk, to get into the best shape, to recover well, but you've got to be willing to change the strategy to get there. And that is something that I have learned to do myself. And maybe I'll talk about this separately. It always feels self-indulgent to talk on my own journey, but then at the same time, I appreciate that we are all in it together. And if I can share something that might be insightful for you all, then obviously that is what the podcast is here for. And I know that I've mentioned this when I first got into my early 40s, probably around 41. It was a struggle. Like, I noticed my waistline getting bigger. It was starting to feel out of control, but I was doing the things that I'd always done. I was training at the same intensity. I was trying to follow the same sort of setup, whether it was breakfast, lunch, dinner. The nutrition for me has changed. The way that I prioritize downtime has changed. The way that I protect my energy has changed. The way that I work out has changed. And I still feel as though I'm thriving. And I'm thriving the way that I was 3, 4, 5 years ago. but the game plan, like the strategy is so different. And some of the things that I would have advocated for 5 years ago now, it's changed. And I work with women who are in their 30s, and I'm more power to you because, you know, I'm programming for these women. I can't follow that program. I can't do that now. Physically, I'm capable, but I also want to be able to have the mindset and have the steady stress levels and protect my sleep and have the energy for the kids. And so it's just the makeup of how we approach has got to change. And I think the point of the podcast and the sharing, if you take anything away, is that can only come from you. You've got to be willing to adapt. You've got to be willing to say, okay, this is not me failing. This is feedback from my body. Things are changing. And I am going to get in the driver's seat here, and I'm going to be willing to do things differently. And I'm not going to worry about what I'm seeing on social media or how fast somebody else seems to be transforming or any of the other things that in the past would have just lured me in. I am going to take care of me from the inside out. It's going to be lifestyle based. I'm going to look at the 24 hours in the day, not just the 1 hour in the gym 3 times a week. Like, I'm really going to think about this from a lifestyle perspective, and I'm going to think about what matters most. And when we break it down to that and we go, okay, I'm in the summer holidays here, I acknowledge that nothing matters more than time with my kids. I know how fleeting these years are, and yet I'm still wishing the time away because I'm struggling. Well, we can unpeel that and come back with a different mentality, because maybe we still get to enjoy this to the max, maybe we still get to enjoy every moment, but the approach is different. And the way that we give energy away so freely to everybody else and the things that we prioritise just change. Like, we have to start with ourselves. I think particularly during the summer holidays, around cycle or any other time of the month, we have to consider starting with ourselves first. It's not selfish. It's not taking anything away from our kids. I actually think it's giving them a better quality of time with us, and we feel better. It feels less of a struggle. We're less hoping for bedtime so we can just have 5 minutes to chill. We've taken that time. We've taken that time in the morning or at some point in the day for ourselves. And yeah, it's not going to look like the hour in the gym for everybody. But again, just understanding how to manage your energy and prioritise yourself. And managing your energy also comes down to your nutrition. Don't forget, ladies, what we put in. I'll probably say this like a broken record on every episode, but what we put into our bodies either helps or hinders. No two ways about it. So that impulse decision to get the takeaway on the way home because you don't want to cook because you're absolutely shattered is draining your battery even more. And sometimes it happens, and that's life, and that's okay. But we've got to have awareness that that's exactly what's draining my battery even more. So if I wake up tomorrow and I still feel sluggish, that's why. Because where I need to be able to help myself and have a plan and have routine and have structure and maybe have accountability and support, if that's what you know that you need, where I need that, I'm actually just going back to my old default ways. So the question is not, should I even bother with my goals right now? It's how can I adapt? How do I redirect? What do I need to prioritise first for myself so that I'm able to show up in a way that allows me to feel good, to perform at work, to give the best version of myself to my kids, to my partner, to feel good when I open the wardrobe and I'm able to put on the clothes or whatever it is that matters to you. And so, 4 quick takeaway tips, ladies, on maybe just some of the things that I know that I've done that might help you and things that you can implement. So first of all, rather than, and this is like summer holiday specific, rather than focusing on a routine, I know you've heard me say this, focus on non-negotiables. Give yourself 1 to 3 non-negotiables daily and make them challenging but doable. So a challenging one, I would say, would be your steps. It's challenging, but it is doable because we've got to keep on top of this mental resilience. Mental resilience is built, it's earned through showing up for ourselves. And mental resilience, do not underestimate that will get you through some tough times. And that is what, and you know, those tough times can be, it can be a stressful day at work, right through to name a stressful situation. But we have to have a level of mental resilience. And so we have these non-negotiables, we show up for ourselves, we check them off, and we acknowledge. Really important. You've got to acknowledge the things that you're doing well. Number 2, simplify decisions before you need to make them. Decision fatigue is also a very real thing. If you're constantly deciding what to eat, where to go, what day you're going to work out, what your workouts are going to look like, whether or not you are going to go to bed early tonight, or whatever it might be, there are certain things that we just want to have as part of a routine. We want to know what our meals are going to look like. We roughly want to know what time lights go out every night. We want to know the days that we train. And maybe we've got to adapt those over the summer holidays. That's okay. But we have our like anchor plan in place. So that might be for you. You go to the gym or work out at home Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And let's say on a particular given week, you can't work out on the Wednesday. So it tends to be Monday, Thursday, Friday that week, or Monday, Tuesday, Friday. We can adapt, but we've got to have the anchor in place. And I think especially with the nutrition, this is an important one, because decision fatigue and overwhelm when it comes to making smart choices around the food that we're going to put in, like, we can quickly burn out. And when willpower is spent, which in the summer holidays is probably going to be earlier in the day than normal, when willpower is spent, that is it. We haven't got any willpower anymore. We can't rely on that. If the plan hasn't been formed and hasn't been put in place, we are just going to do the quickest, easiest option, which 9 times out of 10 is not going to be the high protein, nutrient dense meal that would actually be the most supportive of your goals and energy. Number 3, say your capacity out loud. Say it out loud. Say if you need a minute for yourself. Tell your husband if you haven't got as much energy in the tank today. You don't need to give him War and Peace. I've tried this with my husband. They don't get it. They don't get it, and so they shouldn't, because we're built differently. But I will say out loud if I need to prioritise things in a different order today, or if I need that little bit of extra support, or if energy is flagging, or whatever it is, I will say it out loud. I will not struggle through. I will not struggle through and just do my best to get out the other side. Like, that's not happening. We've got to acknowledge out loud, my capacity has changed for these next couple of days. We just need to do things a little differently. And it might be that you also are able to do that in the workplace. Not everybody is going to be able to, but you know, if you've got a team, or you've got a friend in work, or you've got a good relationship with your line manager or your team, or whoever it might be, then let them know. Let them know that, you know, you need to finish work on time, or, as I've said, maybe you don't go into the staff area or wherever it might be, where normally there might be a bit of gossip, a bit of negative energy, or you sit listening to everybody else's problems. Like, I've also been there, you know, taking calls or just having those casual conversations, and it's all energy. It's all an exchange of energy, and I think some of us women are experts at just giving our energy so freely to everybody else. But there will come a time every month, maybe multiple times a month if you are in perimenopause, when you've got to think about your energy for you first. And then the last one is, and again, especially during the summer holidays, just redefine what a good day looks like. It doesn't need to be all boxes checked. It's not perfection. Just redefine what a good day looks like. And this comes back to your non-negotiables. And some days, and I think being able to anchor your reason why and understand that and keep coming back to that is also really important, because sometimes a really good day is just, we made core memories, we checked off an experience that we'd been really looking forward to. It's got nothing to do with what you ate, how many steps you got. It's got nothing to do with any of that. It comes back to your reason why, because the work that you've done up until now allowed you, as a mum, as a parent, as a woman, to show up in the way that you've been working towards, with confidence, with energy. Speaking to a client the other day, and she'd gone to like an outdoor water activity thing, and she was able to get on, and she wouldn't have even dreamt of like attempting to get in a wetsuit or anything previous years. And she was just like, that for me was just the pinnacle. And we didn't even talk about how many steps she'd done that day, what she ate that day. None of that mattered. The important part was, that was a great day, and that's what we've been working towards. And there's no way she's going to let that slip now. So yeah, she got fish and chips on the way home and all of the other things. And then the next day, she just got right back to normal. Decisions around food had already been pretty planned out. Non-negotiables are locked in. Energy levels are being managed because she's putting herself first. And this definition of what a good day looks like can change day to day. And I think if you've got those non-negotiables in your mindset, and again, they can change, ladies, we've just got to be willing to be flexible and adapt. If you can anchor back to those non-negotiables, you can go to bed at night and feel accomplished. You can create momentum with the smallest of habits. It can be choosing the fruit bowl over the ice cream. One, check in the box. Getting that extra 10 minutes of a walk when the kids are in the bath and you would normally be tidying around or organising for tomorrow, which are jobs that still need to be done. We can't take away from the fact that we've got busy households, we run busy households, and we are responsible for a lot of what goes on and whether the kids are organised or not. But we have to take care of ourselves first and understand that that is the biggest way to create the thriving lifestyle and the momentum to keep moving forward and not feeling as though we've got to put our goals on hold just because it's the summer holidays. And so I hope that you've enjoyed this episode and taken something from it. If anything, I hope that you realise that you're not losing your edge. I'm hoping that some of you are listening to this thinking, oh, okay, I'm not losing the plot. I just needed to hear that out loud, that actually this is very normal. It's normal to be feeling a little more vulnerable at times and a little more overstretched, and maybe we have got to think about things are changing. And it's not that you're not invincible. You are still very much invincible, but we just need a different game plan. And ladies, remember this, thriving, it's not season dependent. We don't only thrive when the going's good, when the routine is locked in, when the kids are back in school. It's an identity, it's who you are that can flex. We can be flexible about our approach. We can be flexible about our non-negotiables, but it's who we identify as. Do you identify as a thriving woman? Do you identify as a woman who actively and proactively cares for herself, cares for her health, cares for her well-being? That is the identity of a thriving woman. And so, take this into the remaining weeks of the summer holidays. I hope you've all got some nice things planned. I'm hoping that this weather keeps on. I've said this on a couple of episodes and I can't believe I'm saying it out loud, but we're in the middle of another heat wave. What is going on in the UK? How glorious would it be if we could bank on this every summer? And every summer we just knew what we were getting instead of the perimenopausal weather. Gosh, that would have been good then if I'd have got that out, rolled off the tongue in one sentence, but never mind. The UK weather is once again having a fine time. And so I hope that you've all got some nice plans for this weekend, ladies. If you do want to talk through more around what we've spoken about today, or maybe you know that you would love some level of accountability or support or one-to-one coaching or group coaching because things have changed, you don't quite know how to flex the plan, you don't quite know how to adjust standards, you feel like you are out of control a little and none of it's making sense and none of what you're doing feels sustainable or as though it's working, and the overwhelm is starting to get very real. That is what Thriving Women has been created for. That is the entire reason that we exist as a community, as a platform. And the one-to-one coaching, of course, I am more than happy to chat with anybody who would like to speak on that one. So feel free to drop me a message on any of the platforms below. Instagram is always an easy one to reach me on. And I will catch you all on the next episode of the Fit and Unfiltered podcast.